Hey, you guys want to see a funny meme I found on Twitter? Look. It's a fun meme. I like this meme. So for once, I was able to sit through the entirety of a PlayStation stream. Granted, it was 9 minutes long, but it was also still about 9 minutes longer than it needed to be, given the ratio of good to bad information that it relayed. I mean, at this point, they really should have just shadow dropped the thing. This is probably the worst possible first impression you could give of an enhanced console. My expectations were low, but holy cow. It's before the 60-second mark, so I can't swear yet. Stick around. And just so we're on the same page about how this is going for PlayStation, that reveal stream, that 9-minute reveal stream, currently sitting with 71,000 likes to 56,000 dislikes. And then the PS5 Pro trailer that they released a little while afterwards, that's only a minute long, is sitting with a nice juicy 34,000 up to 65,000 down.
That's gotta hurt!
And the reasons for this should be incredibly obvious. We'll start with the $700 price tag. And don't worry, the stand is sold separately, and so is the disc drive, which they conveniently didn't mention during the reveal trailer or the stream. If you want to get a PS5 Pro to play your physical game collection, then you can just eat shit with a spoon, because you literally can't do that without buying an additional disc drive. But $700 for this thing. I was expecting the base model of the PS5 to go down in price, and then the PS5 Pro to be somewhere around, I don't know, $550 to $600 tops. But not only are they not decreasing the price of the base PlayStation 5, and not only did they quietly increase the price of controllers the other day for literally no reason, but they're also charging you $700. It's like car pricing now. $700 for the Pro, plus extra for the stand, plus extra for the disc drive. So what are you getting? $700 they're charging for this thing. What is it going to be over the base model of the PS5 that has been out since 2020 and has been $500 market since 2020? Well, one thing you're not getting over the $500 PS5 is the disc drive. But I watched that entire stream, and they spent a lot of time talking about the difference between fidelity mode and performance mode, the two graphics settings on the base PS5 that meant better graphics target 30 FPS and worse graphics target 60 FPS. And they were actually surprisingly candid during this part. Watching this section of the reveal stream kind of actually made me wonder, like, okay, are they actually going to start talking about frame rate? Are they actually going to start mentioning like the importance of frame rate? Especially when Mark Cerny deliberately mentioned that the original PS5 is capable of up to 120 frames per second. The fact that he even mentioned that before getting into the PS5 Pro specs made me think, okay, maybe they're actually going to be focusing on gameplay for once, but no, this is Sony. So what you're getting from the PS5 Pro is on PS5 games where they target 30 frames per second in fidelity mode, the PS5 Pro will target 60 frames per second in fidelity mode. Ooh, how wonderful. $700 for this console that's getting you a modern frame rate. But if fidelity mode is getting a double frame rate, if fidelity mode is going from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, doesn't that mean performance mode should be getting some pretty juicy enhancements as well? That was my first thought. And like I said, Mark Cerny explicitly mentioned that the PS5 base is capable of 120 frames per second, and the PS5 Pro is so much more powerful, and it's doubling the frame rate of fidelity mode while also making fidelity mode look better. So of course performance mode is going to get a big frame rate boost, right? No, it's not. You're dumb. Why would they give you more than 60 frames for $700? According to Mark Cerny himself, performance mode running on the PS5 Pro will just give you better graphics in performance mode, meaning after 4 years on the market and with a console generation that was initially sold to you with 120 frames per second being a selling point, the fact that 120 was capable, that was a selling point of the original console, the Pro version of the console is still targeting half of that. This is so fucking lazy. You're telling me that you are putting all this effort into doubling the frame rate of fidelity mode on these consoles from 30 to 60 plus visual enhancements. But then when it comes to performance mode, you know, the mode that was already running at 60 on the original console, the Pro console gets no gameplay improvement. Oh, it gets graphical improvements, but gameplay improvements? Nah, go fuck yourself. Give me $700 plus extra for the stand, plus extra for the disc drive. I swear, Sony is absolutely allergic to understanding why people play video games instead of watch movies. They're right there. They're right next to understanding. But here we are, 2024, a $700 version of a $500 console from 2020, a console that was already running games with 60 FPS caps, and they can't even promise you higher frame rates on that $700 enhanced console. Give me a fucking break, Sony. And you wonder why people who actually give a shit about gameplay over graphics are just going to the PC. And that's really what's going to kill this thing. Nobody, I mean nobody, who has $700 to spare on a gaming machine, because $700 is a lot of money. At that point, you have officially crossed the line to this being a very expensive piece of hardware. Not a lot of people just have $700 laying around to burn on a gaming console or a piece of gaming hardware. So answer me this, dear viewer. If you have already accepted the fact that you are going to spend a lot of money on a gaming machine, a bare minimum of $700 on a gaming machine, why would you not just get a PC? Do you know what you can do with $700 and PC part picker? Are you even aware of the kind of machine you could build for $700? Can definitely build a machine that's going to get you more than 60 frames per second. I can guarantee you that. That is really what's going to kill this thing. It's not just the fact that it's $700 for such a minuscule improvement over the base PS5, because let's be real, if you're trying to appeal to people who want really great gameplay, like they're gameplay focused people, they're not going to drop $700 on this thing. And even if you were appealing to people who were willing to part with $700 or more for a new gaming machine, and you're trying to sell them on frame rates and graphics, why would they not just get a PC where they don't have to pay extra to play their games online, where they don't have to drop $70 for every new game that comes out, where they actually have some degree of customization in their graphics settings and they aren't restricted to just fidelity and performance mode, where they have a gigantic library of games that Sony won't let you have. And Sony's putting their games on the PC anyways. So what is the point of this? I'm amazed that this is what happened. And it's weirdly reassuring to see the internet at large not just going along with this. Part of me thinks Sony is going to drop the price before the launch comes around, because this is just too much backlash to be ignored. Again, here's the like to dislike ratio on the 9-minute stream, and then the separate PS5 Pro trailer that they put out afterwards. This is what we're sitting at. This is embarrassing. And I mean, like, all across the internet, Sony's just getting dragged for this. Ross Tweets Games says the PS5 Pro has lines across the middle of the console, which are a nod to the lines Sony executives were doing when they priced the thing. Here's the meme from the NC Smasher that I showed at the beginning of the video. I still really like this meme. At Stella Knox Eclair says, it's called the PS5 Pro because you're probably not gonna buy it. Would you rather have 4 Wii U's or 1 PS5 Pro? Vertical stand sold separately, disk drive sold separately, no new games. But here's the main point I want to end on. Thank you, Ultima, for reminding me of this. When the PS3 was announced, it was $600. $600 in 2006. You know how much money that is today? This is how much money that is today. That's what Sony thought the PS3 was worth. So before any of you try to say like this is it's just a modern, it's the result of inflation and the modern economy. It's the result of the state of competition. No, this is what Sony does. You give them leeway, you treat them like they're amazing, invincible innovators, and they will shit all over your life with the next piece of hardware they announce. This is what they do. And I don't get the people who are defending this. I don't get the people who are saying like, oh, if it's not for you, just don't buy it. I'm gonna buy it. You know, if you didn't buy it, if you just criticize it, being like, hey, that's a little expensive, Sony, I'm not gonna buy it. You know what would happen? They would make it cheaper. And you would get it cheaper as well. You know who gets better products when Sony is criticized and Sony is held accountable for being a bunch of assholes? You know who benefits from that? Everyone, including you doofus cakes who were defending this. $700 plus all those extra add-ons for a console that is such a slight improvement over the base console in the avenues that actually matter for gameplay. This should be ridiculed out of the industry, and Sony should be held up